I am very honored to speak, along with my colleagues, about our uniformed services and the OBA's plans to continue to improve their circumstances, working environment and conditions of service, and strengthen government support to them across the board. The OBA salutes our uniformed services who have carried the burden of battling the COVID-19 on the front lines. They have been diligent and selfless, even though they had to perform their vital duties without necessary PPE due to an uncaring Burt administration. In the last 2 weeks, many of our uniformed services again put themselves on the front line to help us get through Paulette and Teddy. The OBA and people of Bermuda are eternally grateful for their service. It is therefore especially outrageous and unacceptable that the essential services had to put their own lives at risk to protect ours. Throughout the COVID-19 crisis, however, they were often forced to sacrifice their safety due to a lack of PPE and other resources to allow them to carry out their duties effectively and safely. That was unacceptable, and they deserve support of all Bermudians and a government that cares. In fact, too many of our uniform agencies are being forced to operate under less than minimum standard conditions by a Burt administration that, instead of correcting the horrible physical conditions, many of our citizens, your fathers, mothers, brothers and sisters, and friends are toiling under, wishes to bully them into open acceptance of what he wants. Well, we all know what the Burt administration wants is not what the uniform agencies want. It might be good for David Burt, but not good for Bermuda. We have seen how the current government cut the police budget by $4.5 million and is threatening to force more cuts on the Bermuda Police Service. The fire service and prison officers are also facing enforced cuts. The Burt administration has publicly threatened layoffs. I have spoken to our uniformed services. I am told that up to 40 police jobs are at risk, 20 prison officers' jobs, and 15 fire service jobs are also under threat. The One Bermuda Alliance values our uniformed services, our nurses, regiment soldiers, custom officers, police, prison officers, and many more. And we will do right by them. My colleagues will also outline some aspects of our policies, but today I pledge that a One Bermuda Alliance government will, among other things, fully invest in our uniformed services by equipping them with modern technologies to better ensure safety and crime prevention, including body cameras for police officers, updated fire equipment, and emergency ambulances. Address the serious facilities deficiencies at our prisons to ensure our prison officers work in a safe and healthy environment. Ensure our uniformed services are fully staffed so that services are provided with reduced reliance on overtime pay and the promotion of well-being for those who give service to our island. These measures will build on policies that were put in place by the previous One Bermuda Alliance government. We provided property and startup cash grant to support the Imperial Group's mission of addressing the antisocial behavior of some of our disenfranchised youth. Provided cash back for communities, $650,000 from proceeds of crime given to dozens of community groups across the island. Stationed ambulances in the east and the west for quick emergency response. We passed the bribery bill, established mental health court, introduced Team Street Safe, a gang mediation program provided support and direction for people involved in our susceptible to gang life, and introduced great anti-gang initiative courses. It is clear that the OBA has been on the side of our uniformed services from its inception, and we will continue to provide better support to all of our dedicated uniformed workers, giving them the respect and dignity they deserve, rather than the disrespect they have faced in the last few years under the Burt administration. The One Bermuda Alliance will do better.
Good afternoon. I have served proudly in the police service. I've been a soldier in the Royal Bermuda Regiment. As a medic, I've also been able to interact closely with people from a range of organizations and backgrounds. I am therefore honored to be part of this platform to speak about the OBA's plans for the uniformed services and restorative justice. It is clear from my experience that there is a need for a new approach to combating crime and dealing with its consequences. It gives me enormous pleasure to be here now, talking about the ways the One Bermuda Alliance intends to add a new front, restorative justice, to controlling crime and assisting all who are impacted to create a better, more functional society. We need to strengthen our preventive measures, provide support mechanisms at all levels and ages, and open the lines of communication. To this end, the One Bermuda Alliance will implement a restorative justice program through the Department of Restorative Justice. This would provide conflict resolution between offenders following a violent incident, increased support for victims of crime, family conferencing, and pre- and post-sentence work, expunging of certain offenses from the records of young offenders for successful completion of community orders, magistrates' court-guided community orders for certain non-violent offenses for qualified offenders overseen by revamped parish councils with social worker assistance. Restorative justice tries to ensure that offenders take responsibility for what they've done and the harm that it has caused an individual or a wider community. By gaining that understanding, it is hoped that they will not engage in repeat offending. A restorative justice scheme also aims to help victims by providing the necessary support. To run in tandem to this, the One Bermuda Alliance will also continue to improve upon the alternatives to incarceration scheme. These exist for mental health and addiction-related crime and are geared at giving people special support and treatment instead of punishment. We believe that these measures, coupled with those outlined by my colleagues, will specifically or significantly help to make Bermuda a better place. I am proud to be a candidate in a party that is forward-thinking in the approach to the overall area of crime fighting and prevention. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. In his speech a few minutes ago, my colleague Ben Smith highlighted the necessity to care for the men and women who make up our uniformed services. These often forgotten, dedicated public servants are relied upon to interact with people in varied states of crisis. The physical, emotional, and mental toll that working in high-stress environments has on our uniformed service members has implications for the service member, their loved one, their colleagues, and the entire community. I am an HR manager with 17 years of experience working with people, helping them work through performance and sometimes personal and stressful issues. My work experience, together with my degree in psychology, helps me understand how important it is for people that are relied upon to help others in crisis to get help for themselves. The One Bermuda Alliance recognizes the need to support this often overlooked group of dedicated professional men and women. We will provide on-call mental health social workers to support uniformed service personnel in responding to non-criminal calls when there is a need for de-escalation or crisis assistance. Far too often, we hear about a lack of mental health support for those who are incarcerated. A One Bermuda Alliance government would work to increase support for those in our prisons. We would also allow broader access to mental health court. Currently, only someone pre-diagnosed with a mental health problem has immediate access to that court. We would review this process. In addition to giving direct support to our uniformed services, the One Bermuda Alliance understands the need to get grassroots buy-in. With that in mind, a One Bermuda Alliance government will establish an annual summit for the community. This will include uniformed services, educators, social workers, parish counselors, clergy, and community leaders to focus on and discuss the strengthening of community policing and relations. We will build from the ground up, involving everyone as one community to help fix the problems facing our society. We will do better. Thank you.
Questions?
Afternoon, sir. Thanks for having us. I guess as far as it goes with it's the associations that represent the uniformed services at the moment, where they're clearly having a tough time balancing between austerity measures and I guess their unique circumstances. Maybe you could tell us a bit about, I mean, it clearly does not look like a simple situation that the government is confronted with. Where do you think they're going wrong with it? How do you think that sticking point might be better resolved?
Well, the difficulty is that you have to have an open dialogue. There should be a negotiation that's going on an ongoing basis. Instead, what we've seen is that the Byrd administration has decided to go public with not a negotiation, but a threat to the people that are not going to follow the line. The difficulty is that when you have people that have been negotiating on an ongoing basis, and now they find themselves in a position where they're being expected to take the same cuts as everybody else. They're not saying they don't want to take the cut. They're saying that we have to make sure that you're resolving the issues that they have at present. Otherwise, you're expecting them to take, in essence, would be a larger cut. It's difficult when we have a government that presently could be finding efficiencies in other areas, that they have decided that the one group that has been taking care of the country during this pandemic, this unprecedented time that we are in, we have an election that's being called off of that success, but really the premier has been sitting on the television every night, but these people have been on the front line. And now to have them publicly being threatened for their jobs really seems like a slap in the face to the people that we should be supporting because they've supported us.
Those job figures that you cited were quite high. Where's that coming from? Are these job losses that you...
Yeah, these are job losses. So if you refer back, there was a press conference where the Minister of Finance spoke directly to the fact that they were going to have to get the cuts, and if they didn't get the cuts that they were looking for, there were going to have to be layoffs. So in conversations I've had about, okay, well, what would those layoffs look like? And the feedback that I've received is those are the numbers that have been batted around by the police, by prisons, and by the fire service. The difficulty we have in Bermuda is I think everybody would agree that we want to have a safe society. If we continue to cut the police service, what impact is that going to have on the safety of the population? If you continue to cut back on what's happening with our fire service, this is a group that in most cases have actually been left out when we talk about the importance that they have to society. When you make that phone call for an ambulance, most of the time this is the group that's actually coming. They are the EMTs. And when you stretch them to the point that they are right now, do they have the ability to support us at all the levels that we need them to?
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
I guess, I mean, you raised the issue of personal protective equipment during the pandemic. I mean, in fairness to the government, it does seem like that wasn't something they opted to do. I mean, it's more of a worldwide shortage, I think, was what they were talking about at the time, was it not?
They were, but the issue is this. When you're telling a group of people that they have to go into homes, and at the time, if you go back to where we were in the beginning of this pandemic, no one knew exactly what we were dealing with locally, and the anxiety level was high. So you started to hear some of the feedback coming from the uniformed services, where they were feeling that fear when they were the ones that were being expected to put themselves in harm's way. And the protection that they were given was not at the level that would be expected for people that were going to be in that specific situation.